Sophia never imagined that a single decision made 25 years ago would redefine her entire life. An abandoned child, a promise of unconditional love, an unavoidable tragedy, and a truth so profound that no one could believe it. This is a story of sacrifice, resilience, and the true meaning of family, the beginning of a journey. Standing in front of the adoption agency's heavy wooden doors, Sophia clutched a thick folder to her chest. Years of perseverance had led her to this moment. 4 years of legal battles, endless paperwork, and rigorous interviews, all for one dream: to become a mother. Inside, Mrs. Carter, the adoption caseworker, sat behind her desk, her gaze soft but firm. "Sophia, I'll be direct with you," she began, voice tinged with both empathy and gravity. "You know the biological mother's request. She wanted her son to be placed with a family of the same race." Sophia inhaled deeply. She had known this. She had prepared herself for the possibility of rejection. But what Mrs. Carter said next changed everything. "We searched, we reached out, but no one came forward. If you don't adopt him today, he will remain in the system indefinitely." A weight pressed on Sophia's chest. Her gaze drifted to the framed photos on the wall. Children who had found homes, smiling, safe, loved. In this moment, there was only one thing that mattered: the child who had not yet found his place in the world. Mrs. Carter slid a photograph across the desk. "Meet Daniel." Sophia's breath caught as she picked up the photo. A boy no older than 4, with messy blonde hair and piercing blue eyes. There was something hauntingly knowing in his gaze, too much wisdom for a child, a guardedness born from rejection, a fragility hidden beneath quiet resilience. "He has been in and out of foster homes," Mrs. Carter continued. "No one has kept him for more than a year. He is quiet, withdrawn, and does not trust easily." Sophia felt a lump rise in her throat. How could such a young child already understand what it meant to be unwanted? Mrs. Carter's expression softened. "I need to know, are you ready for this?" Sophia looked down at the photo again. It wouldn't be easy. He would take time to trust. He would need patience, understanding, and unwavering love. But she had fought too hard for this moment. "I am ready." A home for Daniel. 2 weeks later, Sophia stood outside a small foster home, heart pounding. Today, Daniel was coming home. The door creaked open, revealing a kind-faced woman. "He's inside. Come in." Sophia stepped inside, scanning the modest space until her gaze settled on a small figure standing in the hallway. Daniel clutched a worn stuffed rabbit, his fingers curled tightly around it. His body was tense, his blue eyes flicking toward her before darting away. The foster mother spoke gently. "Daniel, come say hello to your new mom." He did not move. Sophia knelt, lowering herself to his level. "Hi, Daniel." "I'm Sophia." Silence. No response, no movement. She didn't expect him to trust her immediately. Instead, she extended her hand, offering him the choice. For a long moment, the world held its breath. Then, slowly, hesitantly, Daniel took a step forward, his small fingers brushing against hers. The journey ahead would be tough. But as long as he was willing to take even the smallest steps forward, she would never give up on him. The car ride home was silent. Daniel sat in the back seat, gripping his stuffed rabbit like a lifeline. Sophia glanced at him in the mirror, but he never met her eyes. When they arrived at the house, Daniel hesitated at the doorstep. Sophia crouched beside him, her voice gentle. "This is your home now." His blue eyes searched her face. Fear, uncertainty, hope. She extended her hand again. This time he took it. Inside, she showed him his new room. A small, simple space. A bed with soft blue blankets, shelves lined with books, a desk by the window. Daniel ran his fingers along the bookshelf, pausing on a storybook. "Would you like me to read this to you tonight?" she asked. He hesitated, then gave the slightest nod. That night, after tucking him in, Sophia began reading. Daniel said nothing, but she noticed his fingers gripping the blanket, grounding himself. By the time she reached the last page, his eyelids were heavy. "Good night, Daniel," she whispered. A long silence. Then, barely above a whisper, "Good night, Sophia." Overcoming fear. Weeks passed. Daniel rarely spoke, never initiated conversation, but he listened. He observed. He followed Sophia from room to room, always keeping his distance but never straying too far. One afternoon, she took him to the park. Children ran, laughed, played. Daniel stood close, his fingers curling around the hem of her sleeve. "Would you like to play?" she asked. He shook his head quickly. "That's okay. We can just watch." They sat together, silent. After a while, a little girl ran up. "Hi, do you want to play?" Daniel stiffened, his grip tightening. Before Sophia could respond, the girl's mother called her back, casting a curious glance at them. The unspoken questions, the quiet judgment. But Sophia ignored it. Family was not defined by appearances. That night, as she tucked Daniel in, he stared at her. Why do people stare at us? Sophia exhaled slowly. Because they don't understand. Some people think families have to look a certain way. But families come in all kinds. What matters is love. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Then, softly, "Are you my real mom?" Sophia's breath caught. She brushed a strand of hair from his face. "I may not have given birth to you, but I am your mom in every way that matters." A heartbeat passed. Then, for the first time, Daniel shifted closer. "Good night, sweetheart," she whispered. His response was quiet but certain. "Good night, Mom." A love that lasts. Years passed. Daniel changed. No longer withdrawn, guarded boy who clung to a stuffed rabbit. He spoke more, laughed more, trusted more. One evening, when he was 8, he stood in the kitchen watching Sophia cook. "Did you ever regret adopting me?" Sophia turned, surprised. Kneeling, she met his gaze. "Never, not even for a second. From the moment I saw you, I knew you were my son." Daniel studied her for a moment. Then, unexpectedly, he hugged her. "Thank you, Mom." Tears stung Sophia's eyes as she held him close. A son's sacrifice. At 17, Daniel had grown into a kind, perceptive young man. But when Sophia fell ill, diagnosed with end-stage kidney failure, his world shattered. The doctors were clear. Without a transplant, she wouldn't survive. Daniel made a decision. "I'm going to donate my kidney to you," he told her. Sophia shook her head. "No, I won't let you. You don't have a choice, Mom. I can save you. I want to do this." The surgery was a success. As Sophia recovered, Daniel stayed by her side. One evening, they sat watching the sunset. "Do you remember the first day I came home?" Daniel asked. She smiled. "I thought you might never trust me. But I was wrong." Daniel was quiet. Then softly, "Back then, I was afraid you'd leave me. Now, I'm not afraid anymore." Sophia turned to him, eyes full of love. "Daniel, I will never leave you. Family is not about blood. It's about love. And love, in its truest form, never fades.